जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवराधारे जय गिरिवराधारे जय गोपेश यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम 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 हरे जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे जय गांधर्विका गिरे धारी गांधर्वे का गिरे धारी गौर हरे निताय गौर सुंदर जय निताय गौर सुंदर निताय गौर सुंदर जय निताय गौर सुंदर जय जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद धर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्य उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Canto 5, titled The Creative Impetus. Chapter number 3, titled Rishabdev's Appearance. Text number 7. So only I will recite the verse and then we'll go for word to word meaning. Athanayapi na bhavata इज्ययोरुभार भरया समुचितम अर्थम इहोपलभामहे. Word to word meanings. Atha, otherwise. Ananya, this. Api, even. Na, not. Bhavatah, of your exalted personality, ijjaya, by performance of sacrifice, urubhar bharaya, encumbered by much paraphernalia, samuchitam, required, artham, use, iha, here, upalabhamahe, we can see. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. We have engaged in your worship with many things and have offered sacrifices unto you. But we think that there is no need for so many arrangements to please your Lordship. Purport. Srila Rupa Goswami says that if one is offered varied foods but has no appetite, the offering has no value. In a big sacrificial ceremony, there may be many things accumulated to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but if there is no devotion, attachment or love for the Lord, the arrangement is useless. Lord is complete in himself and he does not need anything from us. However, if we offer him a little flour, little water, a flower, and a tulsi leaf, he will accept them. Bhakti, devotional service, is the main way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not a question of arranging huge sacrifices. The priests were regretful, thinking that they were not on the path of devotional service and that their sacrifice was not pleasing to the Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tabaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Harihi Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Translation once again. We have engaged in your worship with many things and have offered sacrifices unto you. But we think that there is no need for so many arrangements to please your Lordship. So this is the chapter where Lord Rishabhadev, a plenary incarnation of the Lord, is going to appear. The chapter begins with the desire by Maharaj Nabhi. He desired to have a son like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Bhagavatam says, Akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udaradhihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whenever somebody needs something, they should take shelter of Guru, and under the guidance of Guru, they should approach the Lord. That is the right procedure. So Maharaj Nabhi was desirous of having a son. Instead of approaching the demigods, who are themselves subject to so many tribulations in this material world, it is much better to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although one should try to not approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead for material desires, but if one is helpless and if one is not able to preach to their mind, not able to give shiksha to their mind, then it is okay to approach to the Supreme Lord. So Nabhi started worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead to get a son like him. And then he took shelter of the Brahmanas who were his gurus. And then via the Brahmanas, he arranged a big sacrificial ceremony to appease the Supreme Lord. In the second verse, we learnt that there are 7 transcendental means to get mercy of the Lord via any sacrifice. They are dravya, or valuable things or eatables, desha, place, kala, time, mantra, hymns, ritvik, priests, dakshina, that is charity to the priests, and vidhana, regulative principles. Any sacrifice which is done, it should have these 7 elements, otherwise there is a chance of failure. However, even if all these things are there, and as Srila Prabhupada highlights in the purport, if devotion to the Lord is not there, then success is not guaranteed. So therefore, in the purport to that verse, and even in the shloka itself, it is very, very clearly told that what was the main reason why the Lord appeared in front of Maharaj Nabhi? The reason was Bhagavata Vatsalyata. The Lord has a lot of affection for his devotees. And it is mentioned that because Maharaj Nabhi was performing this sacrifice with a lot of faith, devotion, and a pure mind while performing his prescribed duties. So when anybody with a lot of faith, devotion, purified mind, that means purified desires, whilst performing their prescribed duties, approaches the Lord, then the Bhagavat Vatsalyata of the Lord, or that is the affection of the Lord towards his devotees, is reflected or reciprocated. And later on, we were very happy to read the third verse of this chapter, which described the various beautiful bodily features of the Lord. I would like to repeat it for my own benefit. So he appeared in front of King Nabhi with 4 arms. He was very bright and he appeared to be the best of all personalities. Around the lower portion of his body, he wore a yellow silken garment. On his chest, there was the mark of Srivatsa, which always displays beauty. He carried a conch shell, lotus flower, disc, and club. He wore a garland of forest flowers and a kaustubha gem. He was beautifully decorated with helmet, earrings, bangles, belt, pearl necklace, armlets, ankle bells, and other bodily ornaments bedecked with radiant jewels. So in this beautiful form, the Lord appeared in front of King Nabhi and the priests. And it is mentioned that when he appeared, how was the reception? The reception was, King Nabhi and the priests felt that they are very poor and they have attained the biggest or the largest amount of riches in the world. Generally, when a poor man gets the riches, 2 reactions can happen. Either he may get a heart attack and die because he cannot handle those amount of riches, or else he becomes very grateful to the Lord. Either he does not become grateful or else he becomes grateful. If he does not become grateful, that means if he gets it without being well deserved, then he may misuse it or else may not be able to handle it. But in this case, we see the priests and King Nabhi, they were well deserving because they had a purified heart, faith, devotion, and they were not ignoring their prescribed duties. And they were very sincere and honest and humble in the personal assessment of themselves. Even in this verse we see, or even in the previous verse and in this verse we see, the priests are not happy with themselves. They are thinking that we don't have any devotion to the Lord and still we are performing this sacrifice. It is so bad. Similarly, Maharaj Nabhi also knew that what he is asking for is not the highest thing. But what to do? He has this desire. So being humble and being humble in his assessment of the self, He was performing his prescribed duties with faith, devotion, purified mind. So because of this humility, he became deserving. And the priests were also very much cognizant of this fact, that they are not offering the best possible devotional worship to the Lord. In fact, in one of the later verses, the priests will say that what to do, this Maharaj Nabi has desired a son. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that Maharaj Nabi could have desired love for God, but he desired the love of a son. It is because of lack of association or lack of service to the purified devotees that Maharaj Nabi had such desires. So whenever we find ourselves struggling with anarthas or material desires in the path of bhakti, the best solution is to start serving purified devotees of the Lord. And due to Maharaj Nabhi not having done that, he was having such desires, but he still did the best thing. He approached the Lord under the guidance of Guru, that is the Brahmanas. Later on, as soon as the Lord appeared in the mood of servants, Maharaj Nabhi and the priests, the Ritviks, they offered their respectful obeisances to the Lord. And then later on, a very nice aspect of Bhakti Tattva was established, that the Lord is transcendental. His name, form, qualities are all transcendental, beyond the conception of experimental knowledge, and it cannot be described by those who are under the modes of material nature. And again, they showed utter humility in that verse when the priests, the Ritviks said, because nobody under the modes of material nature can understand you, describe you, so therefore we don't know you and we cannot worship you. So this humility was very much appealing to the Lord. And then they said, in the 6th verse, they said that what is this easy? The Lord is very easy to be satisfied. The Ritviks prayed that the Lord is very satisfied when his devotees offer prayers with faltering voices. Shabala Samshabda. When in faltering voices, when the devotees with love and affection offer prayers, and in ecstasy bring things like tulsi leaves, flowers, twigs bearing new leaves and newly grown grass, the Lord likes it very much. And in today's verse, the Ritviks are further clarifying that we have engaged in your worship with many things and have offered sacrifices unto you. But we think that there is no need for so many arrangements to please your Lordship. Indirectly, the Ritviks are saying that we have brought into use the Dravya, Desha, Kala, Mantra, Dakshina, Vidhana, and Ritviks in your service. But we think that there is not so much need of doing all these things, elaborate arrangement. Because internally they were regretful that we don't have the devotion for you. So what's the point of making such a big pompous show? Like that, out of humility they were thinking. So Srila Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita that if anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take to pure devotional service under the guidance of a Guru. So devotional service becomes pure devotional service under the guidance of a Guru. Otherwise it's not possible. Pure devotional service manifests by taking shelter or trying to follow the footsteps of a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada explains this by the example of a expert car mechanic and apprentices. He says that there is an expert car mechanic and he has few apprentices who are not expert. But as long as these apprentices or trainees are following the instructions of the expert car mechanic as it is, all these apprentices are as good as the car mechanic. Although they may not be able to function autonomously, but their execution is perfect. So therefore, pure devotion begins as soon as we start following a pure devotee. So that is what Srila Prabhupada means when he says that one has to take to pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. So talking about paraphernalia, the Lord is Bhavagrahi Janardhan. Here purport, Srila Prabhupada starts with a point that Srila Rupa Goswami says that if one is offered varied foods but has no appetite, the offering has no value. So this reminded me of a very nice intimate pastime between His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj and His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So during the last days of the pastime of Srila Prabhupada, there are many letters where Srila Prabhupada is writing that I want to travel, but I don't have appetite, I don't want to eat, and without eating there is no energy to travel. And His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj was never giving hope as a disciple, giving up hope as a disciple. He always felt that let me try to cook something which Srila Prabhupada likes. He was the personal cook of Srila Prabhupada in the last few days. So every time he would think what Srila Prabhupada had relished in the past few days, he would sometimes write letters to Yamuna Mataji asking. And then he would try to cook. And then one day Srila Prabhupada said, what's the point cooking when I have no appetite? But Srila Prabhupada, you told that prasadam should be such that simply by seeing prasadam one should get appetite. So I'm just trying to cook with love and devotion for you, hoping that you will eat. And it is my belief that if you will eat, you will get strength and then you will again start moving and preaching and pleasing the Lord and His devotees. Then Srila Prabhupada said, I will not get appetite anymore. The only time when I will get this appetite again is when I quit this body. So hearing this, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj became very, very emotional, and he broke down and he started crying and crying and crying. And then Srila Prabhupada got up from his bed and came and put his hand on his head and said, is this what I have taught you? Don't you understand that we are not the body, we are the spirit soul? And even when he was crying, he was chastised more. So Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj was relating this pastime in one of the Prabhupada memories. So that's what came to my mind when I read that if one is offered varied food but one has no appetite, then the offering has no value. Ideally, when one has no appetite, Srila Prabhupada says that one should not eat. If without appetite also, if one is eating, that is called sense gratification. So we need to have appetite for bhakti rather than appetite for sense gratification. And later on, Srila Prabhupada is communicating that the Lord is complete in Himself and He does not need anything from us. However, if we offer Him a little water, a flower, a tulsi leaf, He will accept them. So this is the magnanimity of the Lord. There is a very nice verse, this Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yo me Bhaktya Prayachiti Tad Aham Bhaktya Uparitam Ashnami Prayatatmana. 2 times the word Bhaktya or devotional service comes in it. Krishna is telling, if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit or water, I'll accept it. Indirectly, Krishna is telling, I have unlimited appetite for bhakti and bhakti bhav. I never get satisfied. It is not like in the morning you offered me nice prayers with, what is that term? Shabala Samshabda, with faltering voices. You did it twice in the morning, once in the evening. No, that is enough. Aaj ka ho gaya. Even if we do it unlimitedly, still the Lord is unlimitedly wanting it more. In fact, this whole aspect of bhaktya or devotional service establishes the simplicity, innocence and sweetness of the process of bhakti. When we offer a gift to someone, we don't expect anything in return. We're just offering to make that person happy. So when we give something to Krishna, we should not expect anything in return. Then only it is bhakti, then only it's a gift, then only it's an offering. If we are offering a gift to someone and we are expecting, okay, I'm giving this Bhagavad Gita to this person and I hope that in future he will help us in getting a land. This is called as diplomatic dealing. But that cannot be done with the Lord, that should not be done with the Lord. Because Lord is bhavagrahi, not jalebi grahi or pakoda grahi or whatever. He is bhavagrahi. He knows. He is very hungry for bhakti. And the Lord through this verse is telling, someone may say the Lord is, why he wants bhakti only? He is partial to his devotees. Hiranyakashipu has no devotion to the Lord, but still he may try to offer something to the Lord. Duryodhan has no devotion to the Lord, but he may call the best chefs of the planet, Master Chef Australia, Master Chef India, Master Chef everywhere he'll call, and then he'll ask them to cook a nice feast of 1008 items. But the Lord will go to the house of Vidura and eat. So the Lord is not partial to his devotees, he is reciprocal to his devotees. In fact, using this verse, he is telling that I am impartially giving opportunity to all to come into the arena of my partiality. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachyati. Tad aham bhakti upritam ashnami prayatat. My dear spirit soul, you want to get my darshan, you want to attain me. Okay, I will not differentiate between you and anybody else. You perform bhakti, you will attain me. You offer me a leaf, flower, fruit or water, you will attain me. So I am not partial to my devotees. I am a friend of my devotees and I am reciprocal to my devotees. And if you also perform this bhakti, whether you are a Hiranyakashipu or a Duryodhan, if you also perform bhakti, you will also attain me. So in that way, if we see, the Lord is not partial to his devotees. He is giving everybody a chance impartially to come into the arena of his partiality. And we see so many examples in the scriptures which testify this. So the Lord rejected the 1008 items made by Duryodhana, but then there is another very favorite pastime of the Lord in Jagannath Puri, the Khaja pastime. So there was a Muslim devotee of the Lord who was very much in love with Lord Jagannath. And then he used to wait every year that when will Lord Jagannath come out so that I can take his darshan. And then he used to fervently pray to him. And he had a lot of love and devotion in his heart for Jagannath, and because of that he had got so much criticism from his family members, from the society in general. Because that's always the case. Whether it is the Yuga of Prahlad Maharaj or whether it is Kali Yuga, whenever you perform bhakti, you have to pay the price for it. Just like the gopis paid the price for it, the Pandavas paid the price for it. This price which a devotee pays is the testimony of the love of a devotee. Because the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Pragadha premera ei swabhave achar nij dukh vignadi na kare vichar. This is the symptom of intense love. In every relationship, there is obstacles, there is dissatisfaction, there is impediments, and there is difficulties. But despite all these obstacles, dissatisfaction, impediments, difficulties, if one still continues to serve their beloved, that is called love. And this is the glory of bhakti. Whenever someone becomes advanced in bhakti, Krishna makes sure that they go through various obstacles to establish the glory of bhakti in front of others. When a devotee goes through these impediments, obstacles, dissatisfaction and difficulties and still continues to serve Krishna, this is the definition of pure devotional service. And through that great purified devotee, Krishna teaches everybody That how devotional service is uncontaminated, unmotivated, uninterrupted. And this is what he wants to show to everybody, that this is the meaning of love. If these pastimes will not happen, then we will never understand what is love. So this khaja pastime, Lord Jagannath wanted to eat this khaja. I was researching khaja before the class. I saw how khaja has changed in the last 1000 years. How originally Lord Jagannath taught that Muslim and how so many innovations have happened in the last 1000 years. Still Jagannath is accepting. So he taught that Muslim that, okay, you make, but nobody knew how to make that khaja. So Lord Jagannath came in the dream of that Muslim and he told, do this, follow that. And next day he told that by this time in the morning, I want it. Muslim said, okay, no problem, I'll get it. So he got up and he started cooking. And then he was running towards the Sri Mandir with that khaja. And then as usual, since God is a person who favors organized religion, so that Muslim was not allowed to enter. And then he was telling, I got a dream, Jagannath asked this, that, but Lord, nobody was listening. So the itihas or the remembrances of the people say that Lord Jagannath took the form of a black dog. And he came out, and as the fight was going on, he picked up one of the khajas. With the khaja in the mouth, he ran towards the temple. And then he entered the temple, and everybody was shocked that how could a dog enter the temple? And then he went running up and down. He knew the right places where he will go, where he can avoid the barricadings. And ultimately, he went into the Garbhagruh, the altar, and then vanished. And as all the pandas are running, going towards the altar, as they are standing in front of the altar, a thundering voice came. Just like when the demigods being oppressed by Hiranyakashipu, they go to talk to the Supreme Lord, they hear a voice. And they are not able to understand from which direction the voice is coming, where the speaker is put. They are not able to understand. So similarly, they heard that kind of a thundering, resounding, grave voice in the altar, which said that it is me who ordered that person to make khaja and make sure that I get it in my offering every day. And after that, it was mentioned that whenever that Muslim devotee used to make the khaja, he was always reciting the glories of Jagannath while making. And as soon as he used to make it and dip it into the sugar, and when he was putting it in another vessel, before it would fall in another vessel, before even offering with Tulsi, Lord Jagannath would take and eat it. So Jagannath is not khaja grahi, he is bhav grahi. The point which I am trying to say is that, of course, Lord likes khaja. Very recently, I was in the Narsimha Girdhari Mandir and His Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Swami Maharaj was, cleaning everybody's mind with Jagannath's toothbrush. He was telling, this toothbrush so powerful, cleaning the mouth of Jagannath, touching your head, mind becoming clean. So of course, Lord Jagannath likes things, there is paraphernalia. Also once a week, I was told by Maharaj that he shaves also. So the shaving paraphernalia is also available. So khaja paraphernalia is also available. But the essence is that he is bhavagrahi Janardhan. He was so much hungry for the love and devotion of that devotee that as soon as, even before offering, just like Mother Yashoda, she never called Krishna that please come and suck my breast milk. We do so much Purusha Sukta prayer, so much offering, aa jao, le lo. Don't know whether the Lord accepts it or not. But Mother Yashoda never told Krishna that please come and drink my milk. Krishna used to get up in the morning and on the Diwali day he saw that she was churning butter. He stopped the churning of the butter and he said, enough is enough. And he just jumped into the lap of Mother Yashoda and started drinking milk. This is the love of the Lord, and he shows how much he is bhavagrahi Janardhan. And this is exactly what the priests are feeling here, that we do not have that bhava, but still the Lord is unlimitedly merciful, Karuna Sindhu. Causelessly he decides to appear also. And like this we have so many pastimes in the scriptures. The point which we are trying to highlight here is that only bhakti under the guidance of a pure devotee, spiritual master of the Lord, can make one's life successful. Only under the guidance of a pure devotee, spiritual master, can we understand what does it mean to have Kevala Bhakti and not Mishrit Bhakti. And this Kevala Bhakti is like the sweetest khaja which the Lord wants. Even if you don't offer, the Lord will come and take it. And that's the essence of the stealing pastimes of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan. They were having so much love and devotion for the Lord, so much thought and remembrance of the Lord, that the Lord never needed an invitation. Just like he went to the house of Vidura, he used to go to the house of gopis and eat and come. So, in the Krishna book, there is a very nice reciprocation which the Lord does to show his Bhavgrahi Janardhan nature with a florist whose name is Sudama. So, I will end today's discussion by reading this small pastime by which we can come to know how we can offer our love and devotion to Krishna, and how Lord Krishna will be so eager to accept it even without being invited. So there is this famous pastime where this dhobi or the washerman of Kamsa denies to give clothes to Krishna. And then Krishna uses his hand to cut the throat of that washerman. And after killing him, he, Balram and other friends, they pick up whatever they want, which was nicely washed and ironed, and they dress themselves nicely and proceed. So after dressing nicely, Krishna and Balram went to a florist of the name Sudama. Actually, I heard in the lecture of His Holiness Rompad Swami Maharaj that whatever activities the Lord does, it's not just random. So it so appeared that when Lord Ram was getting married with Sita, at that time, many flower arrangements were made, many flower decorations were done, many garlands were made. So there was one particular garland maker who could not offer a garland to Lord Ram. And Lord Ram told that in future I will take it. So Maharaj, Rompad Maharaj, Swami Maharaj was explaining that that particular florist got a chance in Krishna Leela to offer this garland to Krishna. So he may not remember, but Krishna remembers. Similarly, this dhobi or washerman who was killed was actually a tailor in his previous life. And he wanted to offer some nice garments to the Lord, but the Lord wouldn't take. Because by the time he wanted to give, Lord was in another pastime. So he said, later on I'll take. So although he forgot, but the Lord on his own came and killed him and took some garments from him. That you are my devotee. My dear Arjuna, both you and me have taken many, many births, but the difference is that I remember all of them and you don't. So you just listen to the Bhagavad Gita. So after dressing nicely, Krishna and Balram went to the florist of the name Sudama. As soon as they reached the precinct of his house, the florist immediately came out and with great devotion fell down on his face to offer his respectful obeisances. He offered a nice seat to Krishna and Balram and asked his assistant to bring out flowers, betel nuts, and smeared the pulp of chandan. The florist's welcome greatly satisfied the Lord. Now, please listen what the florist has to say. Listen to his bhava. The florist very humbly and submissively offered prayers to the Lord, saying, "My dear Lord, because you have come to my place, I think all my forefathers and all my worshipable superiors are pleased and delivered. My dear Lord, you are the supreme cause of all cosmic manifestations, but for the benefit of the residents of this earthly planet, you have appeared with your plenary portion to give protection to your devotees and annihilate the demons." So when I was reading this, I was just wondering, who is this person? He is a florist. He has not gone to the Gurukul. He has not studied the Vedas. He has not done much austerities. He has not done even service to Guru as such. But even a florist knows that this person who's coming from Mathura, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he has come down with his plenary portion. So how he got this understanding? That is because of Shravanam. When we have proper Shravanam, that gives rise to intelligence. With intelligence, one can exhibit proper willpower. And with the help of proper willpower, one can be determined in the path of bhakti. This is just a florist who would have been a florist since time immemorial, maybe through generations. But he knows the complete, absolute truth that here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has come to my house and I am supposed to dedicate my life to him. So this is the simplicity, sweetness and innocence of bhakti. Even greatly talented, qualified and educated and high birth people like Kamsa cannot understand, but a florist like Sudama can understand. You are equally disposed as friend of all living entities. You are the super soul and you do not discriminate between friend and enemy. Yet you are pleased to give your devotees the special result of their devotional activities. My Lord, I am praying that you may please tell me whatever you wish me to do, because I am your eternal servant. If you will allow me to do something, it will be a great favor to me. So this should be the mood. One should not render devotional service to Krishna with a desire to get something in return, but with a desire to only give. That's all. In fact, if one is not having such a desire, then they should pray that one should become an eternal servant. An eternal servant means who is eternally situated with a desire to only serve Krishna and not want anything else. The florist Sudama was very greatly pleased within his heart by seeing Krishna and Balram in his place, and thus, as his choicest desire, he made 2 exquisite garlands with various flowers and presented them to the Lord. Both Krishna and Balram were very pleased with his sincere service, and Krishna offered the florist his salutation and benediction, which he is always prepared to bestow upon the surrendered souls. When the florist was offered benediction, he begged from the Lord that he might remain his eternal servant in devotional service, and by such service do good to all living creatures. This is the same desire which Maharaj Parikshit had. By this it is clear that the devotee of the Lord in Krishna consciousness should not be simply satisfied by his own advancement in devotional service, but he must be willing to work for the welfare of others. So it looks like this florist, maybe when his Lord will appear next, will become a great preacher. Because he wants to do welfare to all living entities and remain an eternal servant at the lotus feet of the Lord. So this should be the mood with which one tries to serve the Lord, and this will attract the Lord. And just like the Lord does not delay even for a second to steal the butter or the khaja in Jagannath Puri, similarly, if we practice or try to practice Krishna consciousness under the guidance of a pure devotee spiritual master like Srila Prabhupada, then we will also become very, very attractive in the eyes of the Lord, and we will be also able to develop some bhava, and the Lord will take our bhav someday. So with that, I would like to pause today's discussion. Just to summarize, in today's verse we quickly revised what was there in the chapter until now, and in today's verse we saw that the priests were regretful that they had no devotion in them, and they were offering all these 7 kinds of paraphernalia in the sacrifice. That means they knew that the main paraphernalia is bhakti. Srila Prabhupada also says that the main or the actual inauguration of my Krishna Balram's temple is the 24-hour Sankirtan party, because this is the age of Sankirtan. So if Sankirtan is not done, everything else is done, it's a waste of time. But if Sankirtan is done, and even if things are done not very perfectly, it becomes complete. One has to try to render pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure spiritual master. The Lord is Bhavagrahi Janardhan. We understood the innocence, simplicity and the sweetness of the process of bhakti, seeing the example of the Sudama florist. We also saw just like when we want to offer a gift to someone, we should not accept or expect anything in return. Similarly, while doing devotional service to Krishna, one should just try to serve. Thank you very much. If there are any questions or comments, they are welcome.
This point about Lord is Bhavagrahi, and also he is quite very much hungry for bhakti, and then he has immense appetite, unlimited appetite for accepting devotional service of devotee. That is very nice. And also this point that Kevala Bhakti is that sweet which Lord is very eager to steal and eat. So, and also the aspect of a devotee should be very eager to give to the Lord and not expect anything in return from him. So these are some of the points which I liked. And also this, if Sankirtan is done, then everything is complete. So that is also very nice point.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for such a nice class, highlighting the aspects of one-pointed pure devotional service to the Lord. Devotional service becomes pure devotional service under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. So that was a very nice point to meditate on. And Lord is not partial but reciprocal. That's a very, very convincing description that you gave. And as Prabhuji said, Kevala Bhakti is that sweet which Lord wants to steal and relish. So that's the point which I was relishing. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your class, Prabhu. So, yeah, you were discussing about bhakti aspect. Yes, Lord has everything, and only bhakti we can give as a love, because that is what Lord expects from all the living entities. That is Bhava Grehi he mentioned. And one more thing, Lord is not partial, but reciprocal. That point is because a devotee is always crying baby, so always reciprocate. And the Shravanam leads to determination in the path of bhakti. So these are important point I captured, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you very much for your wonderful class. Number of wonderful points. So I'd like to take one point among this. So which you mentioned about this, that priest doing sacrifices and having that feeling that I don't have devotion. What is the use? So similarly, I'm able to connect with myself. Whatever service I'm doing, I'm just doing mechanically. There is no mood in it. So if this I want to cultivate that, I don't have any devotion. Just I'm doing. This give me some devotion to whatever service I'm doing. So this is a point which I want to take and meditate upon. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for nice class. I can mention one point, like you told, like the definition of glories of bhakti. So if one person will be like whatever the difficulties up and downs, like he can overcome that difficulties and continue towards the devotional service. That is the glory of bhakti. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. As you mentioned, Prabhuji, that Lord is not partial and is reciprocal, reciprocal to his devotees. Basically, he gives everyone a chance to become his devotee, and those who become, so he reciprocates with them. And the testimony of love for a devotee is the price which he pays for devotion. So this is a very nice way. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the class. So many points that you've given us. The story of Bhakti Charu Maharaj, where you mentioned that one must cook in such a way that just by seeing the prasadam, one must get an appetite. That's very nice. Thank you. And then, so from the beginning, you emphasize on the fact that one must always take shelter of his authority, of the Guru. Whenever someone needs something, he must approach the Guru first, and under his instructions, one can approach the Lord. And even while approaching Lord, one must not have any material desires. One must always have appetite for bhakti and not for sense gratification. And without devotion to the Lord, there is no success. Success is not guaranteed. Lack of association and lack of service to the pure devotees makes one desire for sense gratification. And so one must develop a devotion to the Lord. So with this devotion, with faith and a pure mind, and by performing one's duties, one can
one becomes deserving to receive the mercy of the Lord. Thank you so much.
प्योर डिवोटी का एसोसिएशन लेने से भी कोई अगर न्यू भी है वो प्योर बन जाता है। और डिवोशन भक्ति कैसे बढ़ेगा? हम ज़्यादा श्रवण करने से ही भक्ति बढ़ेगा, नहीं तो नहीं होगा। और कुछ भी अगर कुकिंग कर रहे हैं तो भगवान को क्या आइटम बना रहे हो उसमें कितना आप लग्जरी बना रहे हो उसमें नहीं, आप कितना प्यार से बना रहे हैं और भगवान को कितना रिमेम्बर कर याद करके बना रहे हैं, वो इम्पोर्टेंस है।
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, like you were mentioning about that, what should be our mood while rendering devotional service? So, we should consider every opportunity which comes in our life, which is given to us as a favor on us. Like that, I am getting this opportunity to be able to get engaged in service of Lord.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, you were mentioning that Krishna never forgets, and like we might forget. So, like whatever like we do like for the service of the Lord, like service, Krishna will never forget, and he will reciprocate like whatever we are doing for the service of the Lord. Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Apart from all these points, I like that Krishna has unlimited appetite for devotional service, and devotional service should be sweet, and it should be filled with innocence and simplicity. Also, it should be uninterrupted and unmotivated. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
गौर भक्तवृंद की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।